So I started Share World back in like 97, I think, actually, and we ran from I think 98 through 2000, 2001. Essentially the first video sharing site on the web, the first YouTube. I guess a bit of a illustrious claim to fame. Not sure it's good or bad. There was no business model to support video sharing back then like there is today, meaning there was no online advertising business, and there was serious bandwidth problems. And now both those constraints have been removed, right? So you've got a healthy online advertising business and tons of great bandwidth, and it's very cheap for people to basically create videos. And the premise was at the time, consumers are getting access to digital cameras and they're becoming semi-pro content creators and camcorders, and they're basically making all this content. So there should be a method for them to share and be compensated for doing that. So now the proliferation of digital camera phones and being able to take video with your cell phone, and just the general reduction in cost of digital cameras and camcorders, now, as you can see, it's really has opened up. So I guess the long story short there is, great ideas, but you really have to be smart about how you time this stuff. YouTube did a fantastic job of timing this market perfectly, because now there's 500 YouTube imitators, and they also did another thing really well that we were working on at the time. We were actually the first to be working on it, which is this transcoding idea. So they can basically take any native video file that's uploaded and convert that into the most ubiquitous format on the web, which is Flash, making it super easy for basically anyone to press a button and it starts playing. And that was a big problem. Transcoding was a big problem back in the late 90s, and even through the last few years, it's been a big problem. And YouTube was the first one to really do a good job of that. That was a really hard problem to solve. I mean, you got to get DSL, barely had DSL, or even low bandwidth DSL, and dial up. So you had, for us, our whole audience was this kind of this early adopter crowd of people who had just bought the new digital camcorder from Canon. They were shooting their home video, and they had bought the first Mac, and they figured out how to export it to MPEG, right? And then they upload to our system, and we showed it natively in MPEG and stuff like that. So you got a lot of, back in 98, a lot of very early adopters of people who were just taking cool video. Now it's certainly spread, right, quite a bit more, and they've got everyone taking all kinds of video. It's still, I think the YouTube phenomenon is more a viewing phenomenon than it is a sharing phenomenon necessarily. I mean, there are quite a bit more people sharing video content now, but it's still not the kind of huge, it's still not the huge mass market of people sharing that people thought it was. It's the viewing of this stuff that is really compelling at YouTube. Being able to go through this stuff, find what you want. And I think also more importantly, to find a lot of this copyrighted material, right, that you couldn't find anywhere else. For example, you type in Indigo Girls, which is one of my favorite bands, and there's like 6 pages of basically, ripped off Indigo Girls concert footage. So YouTube also had a bit of an unfair advantage in showing copyrighted material as a tool to build audience.